So Joe, you're a consultant mediator to IRIQ. You have your own practice in mediation. Your CV, I have to say, is impressive with over 40 years of legal experience, commercial, industrial and employment law. Most recently, you were the Vice President of the Fair Work Commission from June 2013 to June 2024. What you've been doing more recently is working in the mediation space. What are you seeing in terms of workplace disputes?
Well, I think it's fair to say that activity continues apace in the workplace. There are certainly a lot more investigations occurring in the workplace,
Yes.
and I find a lot of them are actually outsourced to external investigators. I'm personally supportive of that because I think the internal investigations are often problematic when there is a power between the HR department and management, and having that separation is a much better thing. You've really got to spend a lot. I think you've got to be very objective in an investigation and not form any preconceived views. And certainly in the 12 years at the Commission, I did see a lot of investigation reports which demonstrated an internal bias. Right? But in terms of workplace disputes overall, obviously, both within the Commission and outside of the Commission, mediation is very important, right? I think, my mantra, if you like, has always been to solve employment matters, not to litigate them. I've been obviously a great fan of interest-based bargaining, and I've certainly done that since I retired from the Commission. But I also think interest-based bargaining, we call it IBB, and the word bargaining appears in that phrase, but we really should flip it around to the cooperative workplace approach to it and realise that it can be used for just a couple of issues as well,
Yes.
approaching that thinking. It'll still be labour intensive, that is true, but people forget about using those techniques to resolve a couple of issues, right? So you may not end up with a full agreement, that 3 or 4 year agreement of everything, but you will have resolved issues. And there are workplaces which are using that approach on limited issues, right? And it creates and does engender long-term trust.
We saw quite a number of changes come through the legislative reforms that we've seen over the past few years. Does the dispute resolution mediation play a role when we might be seeing disputes in relation to the bargaining process, maybe the multi-employer side of things?
Well, certainly, I mean, we started to have some cases emerging in that area, and intractable bargaining
Yes.
Certainly is now happening. So there's an impetus, if you like, to avoid getting into that zone, right?
Yes.
Unfortunately, some parties have decided they want to go all the way. They really perhaps should have a reflection as to whether do they want the Commission to really be determining that, or should you still collaboratively try to work with the Commission to reach a resolution?
Yes.
Because I'd rather have certainty myself rather than a third-party resolution of that. So every effort to try to resolve matters. And sometimes, of course, in our area, of course, of the workplace, parties are positional, and being positional isn't a good thing when you're talking about keeping relationships alive. In the workplace, in those matters which lead to these intractable bargaining decisions, the relationship is continuing. So you should be thinking better in terms of resolution, because you're going to continue this relationship.
Talking about the Fair Work Commission, there's a few things that have been happening recently, and you mentioned right to disconnect. The Commission released its a position statement on it. What do you see is likely to happen with this concept?
Well, I think the right to disconnect is an education process. It's in many ways a sad reflection of society that we actually have to have this as a legislative reform, and we actually have to have a dispute resolution mechanism in the Commission to deal with it, right? It's the mental health side of the right to disconnect which is quite important. It's not simply a question of saying, well, you're paid X and X requires you to be accessible 24/7. The work-life balance is not just a phrase, right? It needs to actually happen.
The Commission has been looking at a few other things. General protections claims. Our experience, we've been seeing an increase in those that our clients are dealing with. Do you have any observations on that?
I can't understand why they keep going up, but the reality is They were going up when I was there.
Yes.
And I understand they've continued to go up. I don't think the law has fundamentally changed. Right? Now, it is true in some cases, some of the general protections cases filed are not really general protections. They're because the person can't fit within the right parameters of a dismissal case, and they use a general protections case. But very few general protections matters that are not resolved in the Commission actually end up in the Federal Circuit Family Court. Right? So in other words, something must happen. Right? So while the numbers are huge, you don't actually see a huge number of cases in the court stream after the certificate is issued. Right?
Okay.
So it may be that they're settled, or it may be that they're just not pursued, because once you move out of the Commission, the litigation process is very expensive.
Yes, absolutely. We talked in our last vlog about the penalty rates protection bill that the government has put forward. The Senate committee is due to release its report today, so it'll be interesting to see what comes out of that. The ACTU has encouraged the bill to pass. ACCI in its submission has opposed the bill, stating that it's outside of the needs and reality of modern workplaces.
Well, I think the penalty rates one will pass, whatever form comes out, right?
Yes.
And I think it's a reaction to really litigation which has been commenced to try to undermine the existing penalty rates. In one sense, if that litigation had not started, there might not be the need to have the protection.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, now once something becomes enshrined, it also becomes very difficult to change.
You're a life member of the Australian Labour and Employment Relations Association. I think you were appointed to that honour in 2013, maybe?
I can't remember. It might have been 2011.
2011,
Yep,
I think
yep.
it was. And you may be aware that I received that same honour recently as well. Just reaffirms the IR nerd status of us. Joseph Catanzariti, thank you very much for your time. We'll be seeing you shortly at the Industrial Relations Society's Patrons Lunch later on today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.